I Welcome back to Faye Stories. Imagine this. You wake up in the middle of the night. It's pitch black. You try to sit up, but your body won't move. Your chest feels heavy, like something's pressing you down. You want to scream, but you can't even breathe right. Then, at the corner of your eye, you see him.
Him?
A shadow, tall, thin, dressed in black from head to toe, and on his head, a wide-brimmed hat. No face, no eyes, just darkness. But somehow, you know he's smiling at you.
Wait. Hold on. This isn't just one person's nightmare, right?
That's the thing. People from the United States, Germany, Brazil, Japan, even Malaysia, different languages, different cultures, but they all describe the exact same figure. And most terrifying of all, it usually happens during sleep paralysis. The moment when your brain wakes up, but your body is still frozen.
Just like what we talked about in the dreams episode.
Exactly. But here's the question. Why do so many people see the same man in their nightmares? And what is he really? Today, we're diving into the Hat Man. And if you've seen videos about him on TikTok, you probably think this is a new thing, a modern urban legend. But the truth? People have been seeing the same man for centuries. In 2012, a young woman named Samantha from Chicago posted her experience online. It was 3:17 a.m. when she suddenly woke up. Her room was silent. The air felt heavier than usual, almost suffocating. She tried to roll over, but her body wouldn't respond. She thought it was a dream. Then she noticed she could move her eyes, and that's when she saw him. Standing in the farthest corner of her room was a tall, shadowy figure. Samantha swore it looked like he was wearing an old-fashioned trench coat. On his head, a wide-brimmed hat, like something from the 1940s.
And she could see this clearly?
Yes, in fact, she described something even stranger. It was darker than the dark around him.
Darker than the dark?
Yeah. Everything else in the room had shadows, but this man, he was the shadow. She tried to scream, to call her boyfriend's name, but her lips wouldn't move. Tears started rolling down her cheeks, and then he stepped closer.
Oh no.
She couldn't hear footsteps, no sound at all. But with every step, she said she felt something pushing against her chest, like the air itself was pressing her down.
Was she hallucinating?
That's what she thought too, until he stopped right beside her bed. She said she could feel his presence, cold, heavy, and in her mind she heard a voice.
Wait, a voice?
Not out loud, inside her head. You belong to me. That's what she heard, over and over. And then, just like that, she woke up, sat up straight, crying, panting. The room was empty. She thought it was over, until she saw the window, 2 handprints on the inside.
Nope. I'd move out that night.
She thought the same. But here's the problem. She wasn't the only one. During World War II, a U.S. Air Force pilot named David L. was stationed in England. One night, before a major bombing raid, he woke in his barracks, frozen. He described in his diary how the air felt heavy, like breathing through wet cloth. His eyes darted to the end of the bunk, and that's when he saw him, a tall figure, faceless, standing perfectly still, and on his head, a wide-brimmed officer's hat.
The Hat Man.
David wrote, he leaned down, close enough for me to feel his breath. Then he whispered, not yet. The next day, David's squadron was ordered to fly. Half of his team never came back. David survived, and for the rest of his life, he swore that shadow saved him.
So sometimes he spares people?
Maybe it saved him, or maybe it just chose to wait. Either way, he wasn't alone. Fast forward to 1995, Tokyo. During a major subway incident that morning, a survivor named Aya recalled waking up on the floor, barely able to breathe. She swore, right before passing out, she saw a black silhouette watching her from across the platform. Tall, still, hat pulled low. He didn't move, she said, even when the alarms were screaming.
And she survived?
She did. But here's the thing. 2 other survivors in the same train car reported seeing the same figure. None of them knew each other. And then there's South Africa. Among the Zulu people, there's a legend of a being called Umgabeli, the dream hunter. An old folktale says, he steps into the sleeping world. He takes those whose spirits are weak. Generations of elders describe him the same way. Tall, silent, a shadow darker than night, wearing a hat.
You can't chalk that up to coincidence.
Exactly. And we're not done. In 2019, a child psychologist in Toronto ran an experiment. She asked kids aged 5 to 8 to draw the scariest thing they've ever seen. 39 children, different families, different schools.
Don't tell me.
17 of them drew a tall, shadowy man with a wide-brimmed hat. Some drew him smiling. Others drew him with no face at all.
And these kids had never met each other?
Not even once. Different neighborhoods, no shared media, no movies, yet they drew the same thing. This isn't folklore. This isn't Reddit. These are separate lives, separate continents, separate centuries. And somehow, the description barely changes, just the language. All right, let's be fair. Science has an explanation for all of this. Sleep paralysis. When you dream, your brain locks your muscles in a state called REM atonia, so you don't act out your dreams. Sometimes, though, your mind wakes up first while your body is still frozen. You're trapped, half awake, half dreaming.
Right. We mentioned this in the dreams episode. You're awake, but your body refuses to listen.
Exactly. And during that in-between state, the brain can misfire. Scientists call it hypnagogic hallucination. Basically, your mind invents images to fill the sensory silence. So that shadow at the foot of your bed, that pressure on your chest, your own brain. Case closed.
Except that doesn't explain the hat.
Yep, here's where the neat little theory starts falling apart. In 2017, researchers at Harvard Medical School ran a massive cross-cultural sleep study. 1,853 participants from 12 different countries. They wanted to map out what people see during sleep paralysis. The results? Chilling. 61% of participants reported sensing a figure in the room. Already creepy, right? But here's the kicker. 72% of those people described the figure as tall, faceless, and wearing a hat.
Wait, 12 countries, different religions, different languages, and more than half saw the same hat?
Yeah, and remember, none of them had read about him, watched a video, heard a story. Yet they described him like they'd met him face to face. No Reddit threads, no horror movies, nothing. Harvard wasn't the only one. In 2021, Stanford University ran an experiment with functional MRI scans. They placed people experiencing sleep paralysis inside MRI machines. The scans showed something chilling. Areas associated with touch, fear, and motion were lighting up, as if someone was actually in the room with them. Remember what we talked about in our episode on dreams? When people enter sleep paralysis, their brain still thinks someone's in the room. And when they showed these people pictures, they all pointed to the same figure.
So they weren't just imagining things, they were moving?
That's one way to look at it. And here's the weirdest part. In 7 separate cases, patients reported feeling touched by the Hat Man. At the exact same moment, the MRI scan showed a spike of unexplained activity in their somatosensory cortex, the part of the brain that processes real touch.
No way.
In other words, their bodies reacted as if someone actually touched them. Now here's where it gets even stranger. In over 200 documented cases, people claim they didn't just see the Hat Man, they heard him. Not out loud, not with their ears, inside their heads. Not yet. You belong to me. Don't look. And when researchers played random audio to trigger brain responses, something bizarre happened. The patterns didn't match inner speech or external sounds.
So, where does the voice come from?
Exactly. Science has no answer. Not for the consistency, not for the synchronicity, not for the voice.
Science explains why we hallucinate, but it can't explain why people across the world hallucinate the same man.
So either millions of brains are wired to produce the exact same nightmare, or
there's something real in that room.
Bingo! Up until now, all of this happens in sleep paralysis. You wake up, frozen, you see him, and then it ends. But what if it doesn't? What if once you've seen him, he keeps seeing you? You know how some people can control their dreams? Fly, breathe underwater, change everything with a thought? Well, this guy could do all that. Called himself Lucid 88, said he'd been lucid dreaming since he was a teenager. Total control, except for one thing.
Let me guess. The Hat Man.
Exactly. He saw him when he was 7. First night in a new house. Woke up, couldn't move, and there he was, hat pulled low, staring from the corner. Didn't speak, didn't move, just watched. His family moved again. Didn't matter. Every time the paralysis came back, So did the Hat Man.
Even in controlled dreams?
Especially in controlled dreams. He could bend the sky, shape the ground, but not get rid of him. So one night, he ran straight at him, full charge, tried to push him out. The Hat Man didn't flinch, didn't even raise a hand. He just smiled. And then, the dream snapped. Suddenly, he wasn't the one dreaming anymore. He said it felt like he was the guest, inside someone else's nightmare. From that night on, he lost it all. Lucid dreaming, normal sleep, peace. Every time he closed his eyes, the Hat Man was already there, standing closer, smiling wider, waiting.
He lost everything?
Sleep, sanity, control. The last thing he ever posted online, before disappearing, was one sentence. He doesn't need to knock anymore. He has a key. And under that, the comments started flooding in. I saw him too. After I read this, he was in my room.
So, just hearing the story is enough.
That's the fear. After all the stories, the footage, the testimonies, there are 3 major theories, and none of them are comforting.
Okay, hit me.
The Hat Man might be a primal image hardwired into our minds. A predator form so ancient, even cavemen knew him. There's a local legend that one Sulawesi cave painting shows a tall figure with a strange, wide head. Some say it was a ceremonial headdress. But in our story, we prefer to imagine it as the earliest whisper of the Hat Man.
So, we're born already fearing him?
Or remembering him. Some say he's not a ghost, not a hallucination, but a watcher, a being from ancient faiths, described in apocryphal texts as the one who waits beside the sleeper. In Roman myth, he appears before plagues. In desert religions, before drought. Some say he doesn't hurt us. He just observes.
What if observation is just stage 1?
That's the fear. Then there's the theory I hate the most. Some neuroscientists believe sleep paralysis isn't a glitch. It's a door. For a few seconds, your brain opens up and something steps in. In one study, patients saw Hat Man before falling asleep. No dream, just presence.
So he's not from our dreams.
He's already in the room. In dozens of reports, people didn't see him until they heard about him, watched a video, read a thread, listened to a story, as if knowledge itself was the invitation.
So, by watching this,
it's already too late. So tonight, if you wake up at 3:14 a.m. and the air feels heavier, don't open your eyes. Don't look at the corner. And whatever you do,
don't look at the hat.
because if you do, he'll know you can see him.